I just watched Batman v Superman, The Dawn of Justice, The Ultimate Edition. And that is one chunky title for one chunky movie. And now that I've seen the movie, I have some thoughts. And I thought I'd do a quick review just to keep that old content wheel churning. Do wheels churn? Now you may be thinking, why am I just now talking about this? The movie came out in 2016, it's kind of old news. Well, honestly, this is just kind of an outlet for me to rant about things that have always bugged me about this movie. But it's taken me this long specifically because when the movie originally came out, I just didn't really care that much. I thought it was just kind of a jumbled, random mess. I could see why some people would find potential or even some enjoyment in it, and I could see why some people despised it. And let's face it, it is just kind of fun to meme up the Martha.
Why did you say that now?
So I just never really looked back on this movie, because I didn't think it was worth my time. But everyone keeps saying that the Ultimate Edition is much better. So now that I've been on kind of a Batman, Superman kick anyway, I decided to go ahead and give this movie a second shot. Try out the Ultimate Edition, see how it really stacks up. And I must say, this is better. But that just makes it worse. In summary, the theatrical version is incredibly random and jumbled. Nothing that happens really makes any sense. So it feels consistent in a strange way, even though it's terrible. It's easy to shrug off. But now that I've seen the Ultimate Edition, I'm kind of mad. So let's dive in a little deeper, shall we? The good. It's been so long since I've seen the original version, I have no real matrix to tell what's been changed specifically, but I know I don't remember following the plot at all. Lois was doing something with a bullet, Bruce was doing something with kryptonite, Lex was doing whatever the heck Lex is doing, and Clark just kinda bops around, I guess? But here, something about the tone and pacing makes it a lot easier to digest, and I actually found myself engaged. I still don't really know why you needed Lois to trace the bullet back to Lex when obviously we all know that Lex is gonna be the bad guy anyway, but it made sense now. I could understand what she was doing. It's kind of an interesting mystery, even though it's painfully obvious. The biggest difference that I can point out is that Clark has a lot more to do as a reporter. I like seeing Clark trying to strike a balance between citizen and hero. The self-made man / secret identity concept is one of my favorite aspects of superheroes, and I feel like modern movies have all but abandoned it. So I do appreciate getting to see a little more Clark and a little more Daily Planet. I know there were glimpses of news reporters analyzing the current events in the theatrical version, because I thought it was stupid that they threw in some real people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. This is a comic book fantasy world. I've accepted that it doesn't exist in reality. You don't have to have real world figures appear. But in this one, I did kind of like the world building that gave. It is the easy path to take, but having the news reports show the debate between superheroes, yay or nay, does make it feel grounded. Just as long as you don't shoehorn in real news people. There's this woman that's testifying against Superman. So Clark decides to track her down to do a story on her, but he's really just trying to figure out why she doesn't like Superman. She's kind of disappeared though, because Lex is actually pressuring her to give a false testimony, but her last known address was in Gotham. Clark goes to her apartment, but when she's not there, he starts talking to her neighbors. Somewhere along the way, they start arguing about Batman. He is introduced to the idea of Batman through the perspective of people not knowing whether he makes the streets safer or more dangerous. One resident even warns him to get out of town before dark because he does not want to have a run-in with the Batman. This causes Clark to dig deeper. He finds that in the year since the Man of Steel incident, the Batman has been getting darker and crueler. That idea was in the theatrical cut, but it's emphasized a lot more here, especially when Alfred is given multiple lines saying that Bruce is going down a dark path, implying that losing all the people in his building kind of broke him and forced him back into relying on Batman to cope. He's torturing criminals, branding them with a bat symbol, which is basically a death sentence in prison. I do think that's an interesting way around the idea of Batman not killing people, that he just leaves his mark, and if they die, they die. Not that that applies here, though. I'm almost surprised that Bat-Fleck doesn't just finish the goons off right there. He seems to be pretty okay with killing people in this movie. At least people he deems deserving. It is possible that that's a recent development, though, in light of his mission against Superman. Again, going down dark paths. When Clark finds all of this out, and I believe he puts together that Batman is gunning for him, maybe, maybe not, that's when he decides to take things into his own hands and confront Batman, leading to the whole
"Do you bleed?
Conversation.
You will."
Is it really that hard to lower your voice, Affleck? These kids and their computers.
I guess they didn't want to go the Dark Knight route, but honestly, I've never minded that much.
Ow. So at this point in the movie, I was getting into it. We're a little over halfway, maybe 2/3. There have been things that still annoy me, but so far it feels like pretty good setup. Superman's laying down an ultimatum. He's saying, hey, I don't want to fight. You don't want to fight either, trust me. But you are taking things too far, and if this continues, we are going to have problems. The real problem is that I know what's coming. Problems and solutions. Just to reiterate, I thought the first half was pretty good, but that just made things like the nightmare sequence, the Justice League teases, Martha getting captured, and Doomsday showing up feel even more out of left field and stupid. Which is not to say that they can't be fixed. I mean, short answer, just cut them out entirely, but for the sake of a larger conversation, let's dig a little deeper. I don't really have that much to say on the Wonder Woman topic, because she bears pretty much no impact on the plot. I thought maybe the extended edition would give her a little more to do. You know, make her feel like an actual character. If she does get any more to do, it's probably just like one line, and I can't tell you which one it is. In concept, I do like the idea of them all investigating Lex and showing up at the party not knowing each other's secret identities, so they kind of get in each other's way. The Justice League teases are so bad, though. But that's old news, so let's move on.
I was walking along, minding my business, when out of an orange-colored sky,
Flash! Bang! Alakazam!
That gosh darn nightmare sequence! This scene has no place being in this movie, even in the version that's supposed to recontextualize anything and help set up the characters better. It comes out of nowhere, and it feels even worse. And it makes me mad. It's setting up for a movie that's never going to happen, and even if it was happening, they're either going to save the day, making this kind of irrelevant, or they're going to fail, in which case we're just going to get a repetition of this. If I had to fix it while still keeping the nightmare in the movie, I would break it up. Don't just drop one full scene out of nowhere. Establish that Bruce is having nightmares and then slowly build up to a longer sequence. That way, it wouldn't just feel like sequel baiting, it would be showing you a bit of Bruce's mindset. Maybe it's a vision of the future, maybe it's just Bruce's subconscious getting to him. That would apply to this story much better because it shows how much he fears Superman turning bad. And it would actually set up a sequel better because it wouldn't just feel like history repeating itself, it would feel like Bruce's nightmares are coming true. Not that the comparison needs to be made, but in Age of Ultron, when Tony gets a vision of all the Avengers dying, he doesn't see the Guardians of the Galaxy turning to dust. They know better than to give us an out-of-context scene from a movie that hasn't happened yet. Instead, they give us a scene that works in the movie that it's in and helps set the pace for the movies to come. And I would also try to use this or some similar situation to provide a better setup for why Bruce forgives Superman in the end. Give us an idea of how Bruce decides good from bad. Why does he decide that certain criminals get branded? You could have done anything else. Maybe the fight could have drifted into like civilian territory and Superman has to choose between saving people versus getting his way or something. You could have the nightmares always begin with like a certain action and then Superman ends up like doing the opposite. Bruce needs to be convinced that his nightmares won't come true. How does this do that? I guess it shows that he cares? Character development, people. I'm talking about character development. Now let's get to the heart of the problem. This nut. I'm not gonna bother trying to make sense of his plan here, but what bugs me is that you were really close to something great.
So close.
If Lex had just played an impactful side character, you could have let the central conflict breathe a bit. You know, the actual Batman vs. Superman part. When Superman confronts Batman on the offset, Batman shouldn't listen. I mean, he doesn't, but he just kind of jumps straight into the endgame. All of a sudden, Bruce has his suit of armor on and is calling Superman out. There's no real buildup. I think there should have been another minor skirmish, something to push Superman over the edge. Because about 2/3 of the way through this movie, the two main characters are poised to clash based solely off of their differences and their misunderstandings. But the movie throws all that out the window in favor of, "My mommy has been captured! Oh look, a monster!" All of which undercuts the good characters you've spent 2 hours developing. I think Lex's goal should have simply been turn the public against Superman. That's it. I do understand a little more about his background here. His father was powerful and abusive, so he grew to resent anyone with more power than him, and he sees Superman as kind of the personification of that. Now, it is possible those elements were in the theatrical cut, and I just missed it, or didn't care, but it did resonate more in the Ultimate Edition. Jesse Eisenberg is still hammy as all heck in this, nothing can save that. I once joked to my brother that Jesse Eisenberg is so bad in this that Michael Cera would have been more intimidating. At this point, that's not a joke anymore, just watch Molly's Game.
These guys want to play cards with me, not you.
Be that as it may.
You know who the biggest winner in this game is?
It's you.
You know who the second biggest winner is?
Look.
It's you.
Another angle is that Lex could be trying to create a problem for him to fix. He's trying to get a government contract to create kryptonite weapons in case Superman turns evil, so he could be trying to push Superman more and more towards the edge in order to see that contract through, and when that plan fails, that's when he develops more of the personal grudge against Superman. But now that I say it out loud, that just sounds like Syndrome from The Incredibles. Remember, every time you think about watching Batman vs. Superman, just watch The Incredibles instead.
You think this is a green screen? It's an operating table, and I'm the surgeon.
Another thing I wanted to talk about is The Dark Knight Returns. Let's see, can I do a Peter Weller?
Lower my voice. I can do a sort of halfway like Clint Eastwood.
And I can do a sort of halfway Morgan Freeman.
So if I combine those... This is an operating table, and I'm the surgeon.
Now, if I do that too much, I'm just gonna ruin my voice. This movie does draw heavily from such comics as that and The Death of Superman. I know next to nothing about the comics themselves, but I have been watching some of the animated adaptions, and a couple of them I actually like so much I've ordered the comics off of Amazon. Death of Superman I thought was fine. The first part was stupidly simple, but had pretty good action and decent voice performances, and the second part was stupidly complex and I got really bored by the end. Now that I think about it, that is kind of a trend with these DC two-parters. With The Death of Superman, Dark Knight Returns, and The Long Halloween, the first half is pretty streamlined, and then the second half just throws everything that it has at you for better or worse. Returns is where we get the versus angle, and it did it better. The biggest difference between these stories comes down basically to your personal taste. What makes more sense to you? Should Batman and Superman be fighting because they just met and don't know each other, which would lead to them developing a friendship only after they settle their differences? Or should they be fighting because they know each other and the fight has been a long time coming? It may be the more pessimistic take, but I prefer the latter. It makes sense. How else would you expect the story to end? After they defeat every villain, they just walk off into the sunset and retire in peace? Nah. I think once they've defeated all the villains, run out of common enemies, the only people left to fight are each other. Especially the way Returns sets it up, where the Justice League have already had a falling out, apparently resulting in Superman getting Oliver Queen arrested. Superman stands for law, justice, peace, and Batman stands for doing whatever he needs to do. Superman apparently can't die, and Batman is never going down without a fight. And here's an example that I think sums up all the problems with Snyder's DC movies. Or, to not single out Snyder specifically, this is kind of just a problem with adaptations in general. Kryptonite gas. It's a pretty cool gadget for Batman to use, right? Well, in Dark Knight Returns, it's not just cool, it's dangerous. It's the nuclear option. It's the wild card Batman has tucked away for use only in emergency. When he does deploy it, it cripples Superman. It ends the fight. Bruce even gets a line like,
Don't worry, you'll survive. The kryptonite will work its way out of your lungs soon enough. But I didn't have to go easy on you. A different binding agent, a stronger mix. I want you to remember that.
Now let's look at how Snyder uses the kryptonite gas.
Breathe it in.
It makes Superman a little woozy.
But he's fine.
You have plants in this building that are poisonous. You pick them because they look good.
This fight is so unbalanced. Like, I'm sorry for all the fanboys, but like, it's not well staged. Maybe it would be kind of unbelievable for Batman to have a suit that like makes him kind of on equal strength with Superman, which is partially why like comics and cartoons kind of work better in some instances because you can actually take that seriously. You don't have to just rely on kryptonite to weaken Superman enough that Batman can kick his butt, because then the kryptonite gas is just gonna wear off, and then Superman is gonna kick Batman's butt. It's not fun to watch. The cartoon is better. And I assume the comic is too. I've yet to read it. Conclusion. Is the Ultimate Edition better? Yes. But that makes it worse. If I were to recommend a version, I would definitely go Ultimate. But any improvements just make the problems feel more like a slap in the face. But that's just my opinion. And I have said all that I have to say. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. And a couple of them I liked so much I actually ordered the comics off of Amazon. Amazon?
My mommy's been captured! My mommy's been captured! My mommy's been captured! Oh look, a monster!
Somebody yelled, "Hey, Batman!"